Well, people
But
have joined
anyway,
us. I just want to know this is good. I want to know these things because you're a
mhm.
citizen there, and you have more population than the state of Wyoming, and yet you don't have representation. So, um,
I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me that. That I did not know.
oh yeah,
Wow.
definitely. So
See,
for all the people who've joined us, if you don't already know Wyatt O'Brien Evans is the creator of the Nothing Can Tear Us Apart saga. He has captured the hearts of fans everywhere by writing vulnerable, masculine, same gender loving men of color who fight for their love against all odds, sexy, steamy, erotic thrillers. And we're going to talk specifically about the latest, which is Ruthless! Exclamation
okay.
point. Um,
Uh,
but for people who maybe haven't read the books already or don't normally get into the erotic psychological thrillers, just tell people about the the series and how you first started doing this because you obviously have been a journalist and done a lot of other things and writing these like uh, sexy books maybe wasn't on your radar.
Actually, it was, but anyway. Uh, First of all, let me thank you, man, for being on the show. I greatly appreciate it. I really, really do. And thank you for that wonderful introduction. Let me just give you I write a series of novels called Nothing Can Tear Us Apart. This is the fourth installment. Ruthless came out this Tuesday. Let me just give you a mini synopsis.
Congrats.
It is, yeah, give you a mini synopsis. It's about an uber wealthy African American, gay, same gender loving media mogul battling against a split personality due to intimate partner violence and abuse and also childhood sexual abuse. And he must
Hmm.
confront this ruthless, vicious crime lord as well as deadly secrets before everything and everyone he loves are destroyed. So that is the what 20-word synopsis
Yeah,
of
that's
it.
the synopsis. So that's Wes
Yeah,
Antonio. So people, because we're going to be talking about Wes and can I call him Tonio or should I call him Antonio?
it doesn't matter either one. That's fine.
Yeah, and then there's the other side characters like Rough Cut. Um,
Yeah.
but
Uh-huh.
but so your characters have been on a journey, Wes Antonio, and it started as a slow burn romance. And for people who don't know what that is, like often people think like the men are just going to jump into bed, but you didn't do that, right?
Didn't do that. Mm-mm.
So
Um,
why?
why? Okay, well, first of all, Wesley is the uber wealthy African American media mogul, and his intimate partner, bodyguard, chief of security is Antonio. And they're fighting to preserve and nurture the monogamous relationship. I decided to write about monogamy because in too much LGBTQ plus literature, Jerry, you have the betrayal of us gay, queer, SGO men just like swinging from the chandeliers, and we can't seem to be in a nurturing monogamous relationship. So I wanted that perspective
Yeah.
because the whole series, particularly Ruthless, is about this undying love, this unbreakable bond between these two men, even though they've been through intimate partner violence and abuse and other
Yeah.
horrible traumas. So I wanted to focus squarely on that monogamous piece.
So this is going to lead me to my next question, and you may think I'm crazy, but I was thinking about how much I loved Elin Harris's books in the 90s, and those
Uh-huh.
books were really about being in the down low and being in the closet and all of that. And your books, you have proudly openly gay characters, and you're not dealing with that. You're dealing with other issues. And I wondered if you thought about that. Did you like those books, or did you care about Lynn's books back in the day, or was that not your thing because that was to me pretty groundbreaking and I had nothing in common with any of the characters, but I loved reading those books.
I agree with you. Elin Harris was groundbreaking. He broke the doors open for LGBTQ writers, particularly writers of color. Then you have James Earl Hardy, the iconic James Earl Hardy, who has created the B-Boy Blues series. And I'm so
Yep.
proud that he gave Ruthless an outstanding endorsement. So thank you, James Earl Hardy. So what I wanted to write about was, like you said, unapologetically, openly gay, same gender loving queer men in this monogamous relationship. I wanted to also put intimate partner violence and abuse front and center. What happens is Rough Cut, the villain, sets up Wes to make it looks like he's been unfaithful to Antonio. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, due to Antonio's fear of abandonment and other trauma, he batters Wes physically. Now, there's no excuse for intimate partner violence and abuse. And I address all of that. So I also wanted to put that front and center because I am a survivor as well. And
Right.
unfortunately, in our community, the acronym is IPVA. IPVA is just swept under the rug, is locked in the closet, is more prevalent than we want to even deal with. So I said, if I'm going to do something, I wanted to write something authentic, and real.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I I can relate. It's interesting to hear you use these words. You're actually educating me a lot. I did always had to use the words like domestic abuse because that's the only word that I knew, but I
Right.
had a intimate partner violence situation when I was in college. This is the guy I
Mhm.
thought I was gonna be with the rest of my life, and I didn't know how to deal with it at the time. So I guess I'm a survivor, but I never thought of it that way. And for years, I didn't tell any of my friends. Even my closest friends didn't know about it. They always suspected something was off because when he would drink, things would happen, but they never saw how bad it was. And even then, that wasn't even what broke us up, right? It was something else completely. Because I even at one point called the cops because I couldn't get out of the house and was bleeding and all this stuff.
Oh,
And and when the cops showed up, I felt like ashamed and there's also that
wow.
feeling of like being a man, like you think I'm not supposed to be in this situation. And
Absolutely.
so for people who maybe know about this or don't know about this or don't know how to talk about this, like if they're reading these books, how do you kind of take that situation so it doesn't feel like it's salacious or that it's somehow just there for the plot?
Okay. Um,
Or you can
yeah,
start
you have
wherever
to.
you want with that. You can unpack anything I
Right.
just said.
Okay, no, 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 you're absolutely right. Okay, it's a fine line, but being I'm an authentic writer author. One thing about me that will jump right out with my prose is that I am an immersive author. I wrote Nothing Can Tear Us Apart, Ruthless like a screenplay. I believe in the reader smelling it, feeling it, tasting it, all of that. I want you to be able to
Yeah,
close your eyes and see everything. So with the IPVA pieces, there are parts in there where it's really raw.
right.
And being an immersive author is like me talking to Jerry, like having this conversation with an old friend. And I wanted that intimacy. I wanted the reader to feel that intimacy. And I made the passages about IPVA very raw, very real. And also, too, I believe in breaking down the fourth wall. I inject
Hmm.
myself in it. And because I was able to break the fourth wall, I gave everyone a non judgmental tutorial about what IPVA is. And then I went
Right.
back to my characters. So you can do it without being salacious, but it is a fine line and you have to think about it before you do it,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Um, no, it does. It does. Tell us about, I mean, since this is the Queer Love Project and we're talking, this will be part of the Queer Love podcast. I'm always interested how survivors can unlearn these traumas, and you are using these characters to try to work through them, right? So, how do you feel that survivors can is unlearn trauma the right way, or is there a different way I should be thinking about that? Because you can't
No, I
really
think you're
unlearn it.
Right. Jerry, I think you hit the nail on the head. I do workshops and seminars regarding IPVA, and I've coined the phrase "how you make your great escape." And my website, WyattEvans.com, has some tools and resources for survivors and victims. First thing you got to do is you have to believe, Jerry, that you're worthy of being extricated out of that situation. It that can be the hardest thing to do because, that abuser has just beaten you down to the point where you might not believe that you are worthy and that you deserve something better. Once you get in that headspace, then you've gotta tell someone that you trust to help you
Right.
get out of the situation, and that validates how you feel. Then you gotta make a plan, and, we need to use the internet for more than just TikTok, right? So, you gotta do your research, get those resources so you can get out of that situation. So, those are the 3 starters: believing that you deserve better, telling somebody that you love and trust, and making that plan of escape because it has to be strategic.
Right.
It has to be.
And part of the big thing that I'm always talking about and addressing is the shame part of it, because that's often what this is mostly connected to,
Mm,
right? Because you also feel like,
right,
"Oh, I failed," right? Like, I failed in this relationship, or I wanted to fix this person, or, I thought I could
right.
make it work or something like that. And some people have such a hard time finding somebody in the first place, they don't wanna abandon that situation, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, sometimes, unfortunately, the victim actually believes that the abuser loves them, and that's why, for example, the abuser may be isolating you from family or friends, blowing up your phone, keeping tabs on you, telling you what to wear, what to spend, all of that stuff, but that's not love. That is certainly abuse, and, stigma is the driving force as to why IPVA incidences are so under dramatically reported, particularly with us men. Because let's
Yeah.
face it, no man wants it known that another man is whooping his ass. I mean, is the whole self esteem, the machismo, the masculinity, whatever you want to call it. So, stigma is such a potent, powerful weapon in the abuser's arsenal, that whole silence thing, because that way he or she can continue to do what they want to do. Yeah.
You I was looking at things on your website because it is hard to find stats and there's more often about lesbians than there are about gay men. But you do have
Yes.
some good stats on it, which I appreciated. Um,
Oh,
and it is underreported for all these reasons. Um, is there any what do you tell people about like that, like making it public, like making going to the cops, or how should people deal with that?
yeah. Because as a journalist, I've interviewed victims and survivors, and the whole going to the cops, the whole stigma piece was so powerful that prevented them from getting help. The cops are a little more enlightened these days.
Right.
But there's still this mentality that boys will be boys, that 2 men should be able to duke it out, and settle it, and, the stronger one wins, that sort of thing. But you need to go to the cops. You really, really do. You need to file a report. You need to do all of that. But again, that's a piece of the strategic, careful plan that you have to put together. And that's why it's so important to try to find someone that you love, who loves you, to help you with that, because it's overwhelming
Yeah.
if you do it by yourself. Then you can do it by yourself, but having help, you know, will help you, um, a great deal.
So you do the work in real life and then you're writing fiction about it. How do you take care of yourself? Like, is there a self-care for you? Like, or is this a part of a is the writing also therapeutic in some way?
Good question. Jerry, these questions are so good. Um, this happened to me like 30 plus years ago when I was like a junior in college. And let me tell you something. If I didn't have psychiatric counseling, that saved my life. And what happened was after I got out of the situation with my brother-in-law, who was a police officer, that helped a whole lot right there. Right.
Mhm.
I said, I need therapy. And I went through 3 therapists before I found a wonderful Jewish woman. Her name was Anne. Anne was a licensed psychotherapist. She helped me to understand that it wasn't my fault, to become comfortable with my sexual orientation. I am such a strong proponent of therapy. And I don't
Mhm.
mean going to your pastor. Going to your pastor is fine, but if he or she doesn't have a psychologist degree or a psychiatrist degree, don't go there. You need someone who is trained to help you. And sometimes, like me, you have to go through more than one to find your fit.
Mhm.
You got to find that
I feel
fit.
like I've always been looking for wise women, and my therapist is also an older Jewish woman from the South, so we
Mhm.
get along in different ways, but I needed somebody who understood me in different ways, but,
Right,
yeah.
right.
So let's talk about West Antonio a little bit, and I'm just
Oh,
curious, I
goody.
mean, obviously you have a lot of fans, and they've watched or they've witnessed this evolution of their relationship. What do you hear from them about why they're so involved in this drama?
Well, I think it's because I try to keep all of my characters grounded in real life. Um, I don't want them to go over the top. I have to always think and say to myself, would I do this? If I were in this situation, would I do this? And what I'm really proud of with Ruthless is I have created this huge cast of characters, a lot of new folk. And what I do is I tie them all together. And sometimes that isn't easy. But I think that my fans see the evolution of the characters, particularly the main characters of Antonio and Wesley. And I think in Ruthless, there's even more growth. Um, I had a lot of fun writing it because I also inject some wit, some slick humor in there. And sometimes, man, after I wrote it, I start laughing. I said, "I really did that." So, I had a ball writing it. I really do, but I wanted to make sure that the characters are grounded in reality. They weren't really over the top, and that they evolved in some way, you know?
Yeah. And was it difficult? I think people are always curious how difficult it is to get something published, and you've done it your own way. Did you get a lot of resistance when you first tried to publish the book and then you decided to do it your way?
Yes. Let me tell you a really funny story. This is so funny. It makes me even laugh today. This whole series began 15 years ago, right? So anyway, I remember going to like this writers retreat, and they had agents there, right? So anyway,
Mhm.
it was my turn to I can't remember the company, it was a medium-sized company. And it was this beautiful white woman, right? And she was straight. She says, "Well, you look so straight. Why would you write?" She says, "How can you write this?" I said, "Because I am gay, same gender loving." And she couldn't understand for some reason. I looked a certain way, but I'm writing about this, you know. And I told her at the end, I said, "Listen, you," because I knew that she wasn't gonna take me on. I knew that, because you can midway through a conversation, you can tell which way it's going. So I said, "You know what? I am so glad to meet you. If I were straight, because you're beautiful, I would be all on you like white on rice."
And what did she say?
And she looked at me like, so I said to myself, it's time for me to go because she irritated the hell out of me with these preconceived notions, and she wasn't
Yeah.
taking what I wrote seriously because she was so bent on that. She wasn't focusing on what was there.
The work.
So anyway,
So tell us about your decision. What did you end up doing? How did you get it
I ended
published?
up myself. I created my own publishing company, Narbo Universal,
Yep.
and did the first three. Now, Rainbow Advocacy Press gave me a contract. So Ruthless is under their banner. And yeah, but the first three, I just did it myself. I just created my own
And
company and did it
did you
myself.
go that way though with Rainbow because you wanted their help with distribution and stuff?
I did, John Boswell heads Rainbow, um, Our Pride and Rainbow Advocacy Press. And I love John. We got really close and we talked about it. He understood my vision. I like what he said he would be able to do for the book to get it out there to an even larger audience. So it was just like it was such a great connection, and we just fit like a glove. He understood where I was coming from, understood where he was coming from. So it worked out. It worked out really well.
And I see a cover with rough cut behind you, and you have these studs, on the cover. What are the reactions that people have to these hunky guys?
They like it because, in the picture back here with the two guys, the black guy is Wesley, the Latino is Antonio. So, I learned a lot of lessons from publishing on my own with the first three. And I decided that this time around, I would make things even more visual because particularly
Mhm.
us men, we're visual creatures, right? We like to you know what I mean? So I said, I'm going to make this even more colorful, even more visual, in your face with more impact because the novel itself is in your face, raw, real, with impact.
And
So,
has, like, the way romance has blown up, do you think that's why the psychological thriller, like the erotic psychological thriller is also coming back? Like, people want this?
hmm, I think they do. I decided to cross three genres because that was just where I was. Because Ruthless is gay, psychological thriller, erotica, and the sex scenes, excuse me, are hot as hell. But I tell people that that's only the icing on the cake. There's meat on the bone. Oh, seriously. And there is a method to the madness as to why erotica is necessary, but that's just the icing on the cake. So,
I
but
feel like
yeah,
I wanna play with your metaphor, and I wanna be like, "It's the barbecue sauce
please
on the
play.
bone." That there's meat on the bone, and this is just the sauce. Um,
I like that.
but yeah, we can go with icing. Icing's good too. Uh, so I'm curious. So I want to ask you some tough questions about. Well,
Mhm.
first I want to ask you about the sex because you know the first draft of my novel when I was workshopping with people, they all wanted there to be more, and I thought, oh, I thought I was told not to have so much sex because
Oh.
everybody says it's hard to write, and never it's always bad, and everything else. So how do you get there to write your sex scenes? Like, do you only write at night? Do you write in the morning? Do you have to be in a certain mood?
Well, I just like write. Be honest with you, I like writing about sex. I really, really do.
Yeah.
But um, there, you have to do it in a creative, grounded way because you can read some erotica that's just boring, right?
Right.
I have to, for example, um, I mean, sometimes the ideas will just hit me in the middle of the night. I will wake up, have to go to the bathroom, right? And I'm saying, "Oh my God, I got all of this. I don't want to open up the laptop." So what I do is I email myself something. I email myself these thoughts. I'll have them when I wake up in the morning. Um,
Like you write it on your phone and email yourself.
exactly.
Oh, cool.
Right. So again, it has to be grounded. For example, I write about a particular threesome that happens. It has to be orchestrated carefully, like it actually happened. Seriously, it really,
Right.
really does. You gotta say to yourself, "Would this happen? When would this happen? How would this happen? How do the configurations with the 3 men work? What would they really feel? What would they really say? What would they do?" And it's like creating this roadmap that gets you from A, the very beginning, to Z to the climax. It has to be plotted out everything with writing period. I don't care if it's erotic or whatever. You've got to plot everything out meticulously
Mhm.
without plot holes and without missing a step. And particularly with erotica, you got to really think about it and say, how do I get from A to C to Z? And how
Mhm.
is it believable? You know,
I love that you're saying that
you
because I often will tell people that as well. I'll read certain scenes and I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't think that that would work that way," and I try to, like, map it out, right? Because it's true. And as we all know, all threesomes are always a little awkward and can be hard to maneuver anyway. Um,
true.
so I'm curious, do you have a favorite erotic thriller? It could be a movie or a book. Do you have one that you love? Because they used to be big in the '80s and early '90s,
Yeah.
but they kinda disappeared for a
Oh,
while.
there was this woman, she used to live in DC. I can't remember her name. She wrote straight and also gay, bisexual sex, and she was a black woman, and she was really hot. She got her own She got her own, um, label with Simon& and Schuster. She was that popular, and I think her label was Strebber, Strebor. I don't know whatever happened to her, but her scenes were so Jerry, they were so thought out, plotted well, made sense, got you from A to Z without plot hold, and they just really made your eyes pop out.
Well, if you remember afterward, email me and I'll put it in the notes so people who wanna know her work as well, we can mention her.
I will.
Um, so I wanna leave time for, some of the big questions that I ask all of the people I talk to. And the big one that I like to start with is how do you define love? And that's a
Mm,
open-ended question, and you can answer however you want. And I sort of tell people, like, sometimes people mistake love for that really red hot moment at the beginning, and they don't understand that love can also be this thing that, as you mentioned, is a slow burn that can evolve over time. So how do you, and it could even be love outside of a romantic. It could be platonic, it could be with
uh-huh.
friends, how do you think of it? And queer love specifically, I
Well,
guess I should say.
love what love is and means to me is unconditional. Accepting, let's say in a romantic, intimate relationship, accepting each person how they are. You're not going to be able to change an adult. This is what you see is what you get. And I love judge shows, right? And Judge Star Jones is one of my favorites. And she says this. She says that in the first 12 to 15 months of dating, you're dating the agent. You're not dating the real person because it takes time to understand and know who this person is. So, I mean, when they say love at first sight, no, what they really mean is attraction at first sight. Love takes a while. You've got to get to know the person and all of that before you can really say, to me anyway, that I love you. But love is unconditional. Love is understanding each other. Love is, I got your ride or die. I have your back
Yeah.
no matter what.
Loyalty then too.
Um, yeah, exactly. Loyalty. So that's what love means to me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I have a couple more questions for you, but I want to invite the people who've joined us on the chat. If they have any questions for Wyatt, feel free to drop them in there. I also like to ask, if you have any advice for younger people who might be struggling, or anybody's age, actually, anybody's, out there dating, getting ghosted. I know Clint Collides here, and he recently wrote about the whole ghosting thing, and I told him I wanted him to elaborate on that more because I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with. Is you feel like you have this connection, and then you never hear from the person again. But do you have any advice when you talk to people about like, oh, I'm never going to find anybody, or I don't know how to date, and the apps suck, and
Okay. I've always believed that you must be yourself. You must you must bring your authentic self to that first date. It's not an audition. You're not trying to be somebody you're not. You must be who you are because if not, you could be seeing this person for several months and they find out you're not who they thought you were. So it's a waste of time on both ends. And sometimes ghosting is God saying to you, I'm I'm giving you a break.
yeah,
Really, because sometimes ghosting is the best thing that could happen to you because you might have wasted months with this unsuitable person. And unfortunately, with the way the world is right now, we're all stressed out. We want things fast. Porn is here. It's hard sometimes, particularly for gay, same gender loving queer men, to find and sustain that relationship because of all of these extraneous stressors, you know. Um, so
but I think
again,
that's great advice.
if
Be
you
yourself, because people are so worried about being extra, being too much, and I'm like, but if that's you, just you'll find somebody who likes that.
Mhm, exactly. There's somebody always out there who likes somebody else who's extra. I mean, but the important thing is you have to be yourself. Don't be that agent that Star Jones has been telling us all about. Just be yourself, and it's gonna happen. I think also too, Jerry, sometimes we're so focused and fixated on finding that special person, we don't wanna be alone, and those are the times when you don't find the right person, and those are the times that you're sending out all of these negative vibes, these needy, weak vibes, and people will take advantage of you. Go on with your work. Write a book,
Mhm.
you know?
Well,
Focus on
that
something
is
else for
I think that's a good way of also segueing into another question, which is if somebody's currently reading Ruthless. Well, first of all, say Ruthless with an exclamation point for me.
r
How do you say
ruthless,
exactly?
ruthless.
So if they're reading Ruthless, and they're in
Yes.
a maybe a toxic or an abusive relationship, and they're reading this, and what do you think is the absolute most important message that they get from reading it?
That you can break away from your abusive relationship if you're in one. You have to believe that you deserve better, find that person to help you, and make that plan. Now, there's a scene in Ruthless where Wesley, the black protagonist, because of trauma, et cetera, listen to another personality called Walker. Walker is the polar opposite of Wesley. Well, Wesley has a friend, Lonzo, who is in this abusive IPVA situation. So even though Wes is now Walker, Walker cares for Lonzo and he helps him break away from his abusive partner in a very, very novel way. And I'm not going to say anything more, but it will make you jump out of the edge of your seat. I wouldn't do it, but that's what Walker did. Wyatt wouldn't do it, but Walker did. So
You're
I
just
don't
trying to
want letters
remind
for people.
people that you're not your characters. Yeah.
I don't want letters from people saying, well, Walker did it. I bet you did it too. That's what you want. No, this is to move the story along and to give you another perspective.
I like
Mm,
your voice for your annoyed reader. Um,
yeah,
so to end on a also another positive note,
sure.
you've alluded to the fact that you are trying to adapt the series to a movie or some sort of format,
Mm,
right? Are you going to talk to me about it?
absolutely. A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I am I'm working with a producing partner. I'm not going to say who he is right now. I will soon though.
Hmm.
We're going I, we have a choice of doing it movie or series. I'm a soap opera guy. The whole
Hmm.
series can't fit nicely in a movie. So what we're doing
Right.
is we are constructing like a 10-part series for a streamer. Um, and hopefully we can get several seasons out of it if we can sell, the first season. So that's what we're doing now. We're put the building blocks together. We're writing the first episode. So yeah, it's definitely in the works. So
Great. That's exciting.
mhm.
Um, So, for people who may have just joined or who are going to listen to this later, remind people how they can find you, where they should go. Do you want them to go to your website, or where do you want them to find you?
Sure. You can go to my website, which is Wyatt Evans, WYATTEVANS.com. You can go
Or your
to
Substack?
go to Substack. You can go to Twitter, which is at Mr. Woe. You can go to my YouTube channel, which is at Wyatt Out Loud, Substack at Wyatt Out Loud. I'm on Facebook as well. And you can get Ruthless on my website and at Amazon. And later on, we're going to, put it in Barnes and Noble and bookstores and stuff like that.
Exciting. And for
Mhm.
anybody who may not already be a subscriber to the Queer Love Project, you can find us on Substack at queerloveproject.substack.com. And also this will be on YouTube as well. So if you prefer to listen to or watch us on a different platform, you can subscribe to the Queer Love Project on YouTube. It's also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, all those other places. Wyatt, this has been fun. We've never talked to each other, but I hope we talk to each other again.
Jerry, listen, it was so much fun. And I want to again thank you for having me on the show. And you're the man. You're the man with the plan.
Well, thanks. And everybody, check out Ruthless and follow Wyatt. And thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you very much.